think there's anything wrong with adults living with their parents?
I've been waiting on this shit. I've been staying at home since I was born, like from birth. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. I built a good, healthy relationship with my mother that turned into a genuine friendship with my mother. Like, I probably knew ins and outs about my mother that my siblings didn't know. And it's not because they didn't have the relationship with my mother or anything, but that's because I stayed at home. Not only that, but I gained so much knowledge from still staying at home with my mother. I actually learned that having an 800 credit score was more valuable than having $8 million in the bank. My mother taught me that. She wanted me to build credit. She also taught me that if I took out a life insurance policy for myself, say maybe about like a $250,000, million, whatever, and I pay that off, by the time that I am of retirement age, I have retirement money. Because I know every black child that is around my age, you done been told by your mama or your grandparents that you ain't gonna have no Social Security, and they ain't lying. Also, just because I stay at home with my mother does not mean that I don't have bills. I repeat, it does not mean I don't have bills. I still pay bills just like everybody else. I did not get out this bitch scot-free. Why is it normalized in other cultures where they keep their children at home? They're still 35 and they still staying at home. Italians do it. Jewish people do it. Indians do it. It's so many different reasons. Probably because of culture. Probably because that's just how these parents were raising their children to keep their kids at home still. Let's be honest, at 18, black folks is kicking their kids out. You knew you had to be out at 18. And at 18, you are still very much a kid. You don't know how this world works. People sometimes set their own up for failure. My mother did not want that for me. She wanted to make sure that I had the fundamentals and I knew what this life was. That's what's wrong with a lot of us. You see this glitz and glamour on TV and you see people living this life or people having these businesses and they getting all this money and you think that you can live like that. That's not the way the real world works. Like, for me, it was never about the money. It wasn't that I couldn't afford to stay on my own. It actually ended up coming out in my favor, to be honest, because I ended up having to take care of my grandmother when my grandmother got sick. And I lived with my mother with that. She could have never have done that on her own. I took care of other family members when they got sick. I wouldn't have been able to be so hands-on if I was not at home with my family. I was still very much an adult, still did what I needed to do, still went out. I still pay bills because y'all are confused by that. Like, I didn't see nothing wrong with staying at home. Like, I think that made me a more well-rounded person, to be totally honest.